is a pretty cool thing, right? And always is like adapt and change into whatever. I always say like, the human experience, the body, the brain, all that stuff is just like so resilient and capable of so much. But you brought up the community aspect. And I know that's something that you've been a huge proponent of, not only for your general population at the regular gym, but then also driving that into the recovery community with your work there. Talk about what happens in that community setting and how the group setting for fitness adds on a little icing on the cake to just the general health benefits.
Yeah. Isolation leads to desolation. So even if you're working out alone, that's a good thing, but it's not the best thing that you could be doing.
You need a force multiplier.
You do.
Yeah, right? So it's just stacking everything in your favor.
Yeah.
So if we know isolation leads to desolation, even if you're working out, we also know community leads to accountability as well.
Yes.
So it's easy to quit on yourself. It's harder to quit on your team.
Oh boy. There's some workouts that I've done that it's like, 5 rounds, 6 rounds, whatever. And after round 3, it's like my brain's telling me like, you need to come up with a reason of why it's okay that this is enough, Right? It's like, yeah, you've done enough, But then it is harder to do that in a group setting.
Yeah, and then especially when if the 3 of us are working out and I'm having a bad day, don't want to be there, we get in the middle of it, and I see you guys just going ham, like all right, bro, let's just try to keep up,
right?
Kind of thing. So, we're really just talking about how to combat diseases of despair.
Right.
Addiction's one of them.
Sure.
Depression's one of them.
Sure.
Anxiety, all this stuff, and it's because we feel that we're trapped into that bubble again, and we're all trying to struggle to develop connection. In one hand, we're connected at the most we've ever been, technology-wise, but that creates a massive void to actual human connection. Yep. Sweat, tears, emotion, face-to-face. The things I might say on Twitter to you won't be the things I'll say to your face.
Absolutely.
Right? So for an hour a day, we do that, right? Yeah. We have fellowship through fitness, and it's really hard.
Yeah, and it is.
And I think that's a key component. Like we don't make excuses for that. Like,
right.
Let's do really hard things. Let's do really hard things together.
Right.
And then at the end of it, let's celebrate the fact that we did really hard things together.
Absolutely.
And that's the secret sauce, if you will.
The secret sauce. You were talking about some of those ancillary benefits that come from that too. Because you were talking about, well, yeah, if you're just working out by yourself, that's great. But I'll be 100% honest. Even if I go on a run, check. If I just go on a run with my dog, that I feel better.
Yep.
Because I got Cyrus the virus with me. You know what I mean? So it's like then if I go do other stuff with other humans, it's like even more, right? And then within those human relationships, you'd made a post the other day about some of the stuff that you'd seen happen within the gym that was not fitness related at all. About like, you know what I mean, like business relationships, like people's recovery or whatever. Talk about some of those like other things that are like the unexpected stuff that happens.
Yeah, man. Clearly I'm a shill for CrossFit, but
yeah, well, he's got you have the gear on, man. You know what I mean?
If you look at let's just go to 2010.
Okay.
There was.
We're back in the saddle. You know what I mean?
Meanwhile, back on.
Yeah, whatever story he's going to tell. Meanwhile, there are 10 million OxyContin tablets getting dispensed in the city. You know what I mean? So.
There was zero CrossFit ecosystem here. I'm specifically just talking about Portsmouth, Sauter County.
Yes.
12 years later, look at.
Yeah.
I mean, I tell people just like, look at what the Hawk is doing. Like Hawk West. Look at the Ed Hughes boot camp.
Yeah.
Going down.
Well, then they've got the now we're about to have Hawk East in Ironton.
Yep.
That's there's going to be one there, right?
And then look at Alpha Pack, Dreamland, Dreamboat. Like look at all those. Look at the ecosystem.
Yeah. And
then look at the connections that are developing and happening inside of those gyms. Look at the greater connections that are people happening, because now you got to set the claim. Hey,
yes.
If I know that you're a CrossFitter, then we got something in common. Like we're a part of the cult,
if you will.
If you will.
Yeah.
And then, so what that does is it's, you know, and I like to make fun of Chase going to the Naval Academy or any academy of grads for that way, but
Sure.
they take care of each other.
Sure.
There's a reason why they're business leaders, presidents, and senators is, you know, some stupid cliche, but your network is your net worth.
No
right?
doubt. No doubt.
So
relationships is currency.
Right.
Deion Sanders. You know what I mean?
And then, you know, I don't need to spend time developing trust with you if I work out with you.
Yes.
I can know a lot about you right away. And then so I know, especially like shout out to my nasty nooners at my gym, but there's several business owners that go there. They come for the workout, and then afterwards they'll talk business, they'll talk ways to collaborate, they'll talk, you know, any kind of ways to develop partnerships and the whole thing. It's because of that sense of connection and community that's happened through there.
And I think you see that same thing within our population in the recovery community, the health and wellness center, is like the guys that come into treatment at the same time, you know, like you've talked about the phenomenon, like, oh, this house works out.
Yeah.
It's like, we're going to go to this class because this class works out, or like we all work out with Matt. Like we all train with Matt at the Hawk or whatever. So it's like we all check that box. Well, then they like wind up in transitional living at the same time, and then wind up in the Ed Hughes boot camp together, and then wind up at the AA meeting together. And then it's like, you know, it's like, hey, what do you, well, we already are like at the same place, doing the same treatment, in the same boot camp class, going to the same meetings. It's like they sometimes work together, but it's that like building connections of like, hey, what are we doing after this kind of thing?
And it's just community breeds accountability.
Yeah.
And more importantly, like when we're all high-fiving each other and you know, living the good life, but what happens when somebody starts to slip? Like, hey, I haven't seen Max at the noon class for about a week.
Yeah, Mo will religiously, like, because I haven't been to 10 a.m.'s my spot. I love the 10 a.m. class. And I haven't been for a few weeks because I've been busy. I know that when I see Mo, she'll say, where have you been?
Yep.
Where have you been? And I'll be like, bro, I'm sorry. You know what I mean?
You better have a written excuse.
I don't have a good excuse other than I just been busy at 10 a.m., right?
Yeah.
But it's like, she don't care.
Right.
Where have you been? You know what I mean? You have to get back, right?
And when you're talking about people in recovery, it's life or death.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not. That's not cliche. That's not over dramatic. If a person starts falling off, and you don't find them, they will die.
We show that too. I mean, one of the things that, you know, just from the story perspective, right? Like you got to have a bad guy, right? You know, Star Wars doesn't really become Star Wars unless you got Darth Vader walking around, right? So we really tried to focus on, you know, fentanyl and this like you like to call that next wave.
Yeah.
And, you know, and as we did the research, right, I didn't know what fentanyl was. We wanted to explore what that is and what's the process behind it, what does your brain, you know, and the way that I've sort of framed it and I think about it, it's the perfect poison, right? It's not found in nature. Your body has no resistance to it. It's the perfect engineered poison that has no antidote.
And that's the other thing too to talk about, just like from a supply perspective, right? Because that's one of the things with OxyContin that we were going to be protected from was the supply. So they were going to shut down all these pill mills for the supply. Well, then of course, when there's a demand, you know, the market always corrects itself. So something's going to come in to meet that demand, right? And that was heroin. Well, with heroin and these other like opiates, there is a terminal velocity for how fast they can move because you have to grow poppy to get it.
Right.
And there's only so many poppy fields in the world, right? And so it's supply chain stuff, right? COVID taught everyone about supply chain shortages, right? So however much poppy was produced in poppy grow season is then what could be taken for medical and non-medical uses of opiates, right? Fentanyl's made with chemicals in a lab. The only shortage is how many chemicals you can get, and we can make as many of them as we want, right? And so then you get into the money behind that and why that's so much more profitable than other opiates, right? And that's another thing that leads into that the bad guy fentanyl, right? Is the way that it can be monetized at a much higher rate than previous stuff.
And the stakes, you know, we walk through a lot of that of, you know, there used to be that time when you could experiment, right? We're all young, we do stupid stuff.
Yes.
But, you know, now those stakes are much higher. And, you know, one of the things that we really explored and Dale hit it, you know, on the head is, you know, as you well know, getting through the recovery, that 90 days, I mean, there's there's guardrails, a lot of guardrails there.
Yeah.
But it's what happens afterwards.
Day 91.
Day 91.
That was a Dale King coin term there. Day 91. Yep.
And we explore that because it requires the entire community to come together, to support, to look at it from a business perspective, to look at it from just accountability, like you're talking about. I mean, it is that next phase. And when you've got a bad guy like fentanyl on the streets, that it's something that we all have to take a look at and hold each other responsible. And it goes back to, for me, not knowing what to say to somebody in recovery. I've learned along the way that I just want to, go to the people that I've met and be like, you are my friend. I love you enough to just please take a step to not do that.
Yeah.
Right. Because, it's devastating and then there's no coming back from that. And so, we want to be able to show that and, at the end of the day, show how communities across outside of Portsmouth can do this themselves. It can be done.
Absolutely.
It's just a matter of, putting your own flair on it.
Yeah, well, putting your own flair on it, getting some people that are bought in. That's some of the stuff we were doing with the Portsmouth Method project. We've got our boy Dustin's getting ready to launch in Lancaster,
awesome.
man. So it's like, I believe it's scalable.
Yeah.
It just takes people that are motivated to scale it.
Yeah.
Right? You were talking about the brain and all those things that happen, and fortunately, the brain can heal, right? And a lot of that happens through abstinence or responsible treatment of the person's substance use disorder. It can be sped up by fitness and those kind of things, but that stuff takes a while longer than 90 days, especially when a person may have been using it for 10 years, right?
Right. Yeah.
And you said that's what you had learned throughout is like kind of what to do and what to say and those sorts of things. What is some other stuff that you hope people get out of the documentary? So you've put all this together, these stories. You've brought in science. You've brought in professionals. You've brought in individuals in long-term recovery. Not to brag, but I'm both. You know what I mean? Just love to always sell that out there, right? But what are you hoping? Like, who do you want to see this? What do you hope they learn from watching it?
Well, I mean, just from and I know Dale has his thoughts on this. Is I've seen enough documentaries out there to tell me what the problem is.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. And, and those are important. I'm not discounting that. And all the way from the pharmaceutical companies down, we know there's a problem.
Absolutely.
But what I don't think we've seen is that there's actual hope for a solution. And what makes me really proud, not being from Portsmouth, but, now feeling like Portsmouth is home, is to see we've documented, from my own eyes here in 2010 to what we captured on camera of, what used to be a place where you guys know this, it's ground zero of the opioid crisis, right? It's
yeah,
the
when
example.
Mufasa in The Lion King talks about the place off in the shadows and don't ever go there, you know what I mean? That's the meme, is like the joke that like, oh, that's Portsmouth.
That's Portsmouth.
Ohio,
That's what you think. And I really hope that, this next phase is, well, that's where there was a solution too.
Sure.
That's where it started. That's where they came together, and that's what we hope to show is that there is hope out there. It can be done.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you? What do you hope people get out of the, project?
We're just we're well known for being merchants of Oxy.
Merchants.
And now we want to be known for
It was a business model, I will say.
No,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? It's a totally business model.
And now we just want to be known for being merchants of hope.
Yeah.
That's it. And so, you got to show the bad to see where the good's coming from. And we just want to show individual stories, put names and faces to the problem so people can understand it's not some massive thing they can feel hopeless about.
Right.
And really understand it on a deeply personal, connected level. And then just understand every individual has an ability to help.
Right. And that's what I always say too. Like I've brought up in other episodes, like if you want something done about a problem, then like do something about it. And it doesn't have to be substance use disorders. If you want something done for the kids, if you want something done for whatever special populations, like at some level, no one's going to come around for you to do something.
Right.
You have to just start to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. There's a unique and incredible power in being first.
Yeah.
And people forget it. Yeah, we got a documentary, and we've been on Kelly Clarkson's show and
Shark Tank,
and Shark Tank and all this stuff, and it looks like.
You think he'll ever go from the guy that was on Shark Tank to the guy that was on Kelly Clarkson?
I mean,
is there potential for that? Is there potential for that?
Could happen.
I like the optics of that a lot better from a personal standpoint of how I think of Dale. You know.
Here's a juicy philosophy scoop on the Kelly Clarkson show. You will see me wearing a shirt jacket on the show, which is abnormal for me. It was bought it the night before at Abercrombie & Fitch.
Oh my God! Do you have Abercrombie & Fitch clothes
Which
now?
I had not been into since I was 19 years old.
That is remarkable.
So
He's back to shopping there.
juicy tidbit for you guys out there.
Praise the Lord. So anyways, people
Yeah,
got to
sorry,
remember
yeah.
that. No, yeah, sorry, I took us off the rails right there. So people think of you guys that you got the documentary, you've been on the Kelly Clarkson show, but you were gonna finish that.
There's, we are very fond of saying this. We had no plan. There was one guy.
Boy, didn't we?
Yeah. There's one guy, Andrew, that needed help.
Yeah.
Seriously, that was it. That's how this whole thing started. He needed help, and we had the ability to give him a broom and a mop and let him work out.
Yep.
And had we not done that, we would not be here right now.
Well, and like you said, dude, there's a tremendous power in being first.
Yeah.
It's like he was the guy that kind of like, on behalf of everyone that's come after him, like he's like the tip of the spear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's so important too to look at, is like he had the internal motivation that he wanted to do something a little bit different. And then he also had been plugged into the community thing that was going to give him the ecosystem, if you will, to like support himself to grow. You know what I mean?
Well, let's retrace it. Billy was the first one to say, let's do this program.
Yeah.
What would have not happened had he not done that?
Right.
Andrew we wouldn't have been doing the CrossFit classes.
Right.
Andrew wouldn't have been able to raise his hand and say, hey man, I'd go into homeless shelters, or, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that is the power of being first.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't need to have the plan. You don't need to have some 5-year thing. You don't need to, you know what I mean? Just be first. And be first could just be, hey, somebody in high school you went with is struggling.
Yeah.
Send them a text.
Sure.
Hey, bro. And I don't know what I can do for you. I just want to know. I want to let you know I'm thinking about you.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's ever anything I can do, please let me know.
Sure.
It's that simple.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the story piece is important, and the way that all that stuff unfolds and how we kind of got here. One of those things in sobriety that we try to teach people is that, like don't consider the rest of your life without the use of drinks or drugs. Just don't use today, right? Mm-hmm. That whole just for today slogan that you get out of the anonymous fellowships, or, one day at a time, 24 hours at a time, whatever kind of spin you want to put on it. We never had the 5-year plan, right? But we knew it's like, okay, well, we're going to start, and here's how we're going to start. Like day one, like, okay, like just come in and like do the class today, and we'll see who shows up.
Yep.
And we'll kind of go from there, right? And so the other piece on that sort of story thing is, one of the things that we've tried to do is like get statistics out as far as like, hey, here's some of these negative narrative things that are going around, and here's some statistics that refute that. Mm-hmm. One of those being like your success rate. Well, what's your success rate? I have numbers on a paper from the transitional living population that say that 99% of our drug screens are negative, meaning that there's like a 1% positive UA screen. So that means that the 150 some people in transitional living are abstinent of drugs 99% of the time, which to me sounds like a 99% success rate, right? When people are following the protocol of their treatment. But people don't care about that. They want to meet, they don't care about that as much as if they would hear Sarah's story, if they'd hear Andrew talk,
right.
if they would hear Ricky talk. You know what I mean? So I think it's important to like combine that stuff together, like you were talking about, with the science, with the stories, with the numbers, everything together.
Yeah.
It just doesn't get as far when I say, well, here's a sheet of paper with actually.
But it's an important component, and I think that's where we really try to bring all of it together. Is, like I said, I started with not knowing anything either. Mm-hmm. I wanted to go through this. It's a great
place to start too.
I mean, let's dive in, and I really wanted to dive into that, and a big shout out to Miley, my wife, and also one of the producers on there, and then my brother Spencer, who both came at this. Spence Carter, who also came at this and said, we really want to do this the right way, and so I think you'll see that too, is we've really tried to show Portsmouth itself in a different light.
Sure.
So visually, you'll see Portsmouth in a way probably you haven't seen before,
right?
And we want to be able to show not only the numbers behind it, but like, here's the actual things that are happening, because you may miss it. You drive by it every day and you miss it, but if you understand the context, it just becomes more powerful. Yeah. And I'm hopeful that if you've lived in Portsmouth in your entire life, that you're going to walk away thinking, wow, I had no idea this was happening in my own backyard.
Sure. Yeah. And if you want to get involved with it, always hit us up, right? You know?
That's right.
Yeah. Like you say, man, you can come work out at the Hawk anytime.
Anytime, man. Just hit us up. So with all that being said, what's next, man? So after the project airs, people hopefully learn some things or whatever. You guys going on like...
We have a 5-year plan.
Yeah, you going on like The Price is Right next? Or what are you guys doing? And I don't know.
Man, if I did, I would have massive street cred from my son.
No doubt. Yeah, I guarantee it. Okay. Gosh, man. Is that still a Drew Carey thing?
It's the Drew Carey. Yes.
Drew, we hope you see this. You know what I mean? If you could...
He's an Ohio boy.
Yeah, hey, yeah, Cleveland rocks, bro. Let's go, man. Yeah. But for real, what's next? You guys, I'm sure first what's next is getting the film out and about.
Getting the film out
right?
is my goal, and you're really shooting to get it done by the end of the year. And for those that, you know, are like, when's it coming out? Well, there's a lot of pieces that go into that, right? There's a lot of editing,
it's
there's a
only
lot of
4 years
graphics.
of footage, dude. What's the big deal?
Yeah, there's a lot of
Give
footage.
it to us already.
We're going through it. You know, just want to highlight how much we've really tried to not overly Hollywood this is, you know, we've hired people locally because we think that's the important and the right way to do it. And so, you know, you'll see a lot of that behind the scenes. So we're hoping to be done by the end of the year, and then be out. And then, you know, after that, maybe we do another, you know, doc, maybe we'll do something different. I don't know. But, you know, for me, it's getting this one out. That's the big near-term target.
Yep. Near-term target. Learning new stuff.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Mr. King? I'm sure you've got some other, you know what I mean?
And
you're gonna start a new business. You're gonna get a new job. What are you gonna do, man?
I'm just along for the ride, man.
Yeah.
My focus is getting this out, and you know, Chase, of course, is doing all the heavy lifting on it. And
You're just a pretty face.
I'm just a pretty face.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that's something that I've always appreciated about working with both of you guys, with the counseling center and then with Not Your Average and stuff like that, is the support of you both to like just do whatever the next cool thing is, man. You know,
we're trying. You know,
I love the energy, dude. I just try to reflect it back out in the world. You know, anything else we forgot, or that you would final thoughts, closing thoughts for the viewers at home, viewers, listeners, watchers. Don't smoke crack.
Don't smoke
Best
crack.
advice I ever got.
Yep.
You know?
Don't smoke crack. That's top of the list. Yeah, I would just say if something's bugging you regarding this, you know, whether it's treatment or people in addiction or something, just be willing to learn. Be willing to be open to a different side of it. And because here's what's going to happen. Like, you know, we were always ingrained to know your enemy.
Yep.
I mean, know your enemy, know yourself. You'll either come away with stronger convictions on your side, or you'll be willing to understand there's two sides to everything. So I don't want to see addiction drive a further divide in our own community.
Yeah.
Because the end of the day is fentanyl is being manufactured in China, state sponsored. It's being distributed by drug cartels into our local communities, who are then magnifying the negative effects of it by fighting amongst one another. We are losing. And China and or the drug cartels are winning, and they double down when we fight inside of ourselves instead of looking at, hey, how can we help one another through this in the best, most effective, efficient, compassionate way?
Yeah. Yeah. Good advice, man.
That's all I got.
Oh, solid.
nailed that one. I'll put my marketing hat on.
Yeah.
Follow us at Smalltown Strong Doc. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and then we've got our website, smalltownstrongdoc.com. You can get updates. Sign up.
Is there a link to Portsmouth versus China with the greatest website ever made?
There will be now.
There will be.
I know the IT guy. He is me.
Speaking of the marketing hat, that's a website that everyone should see.
It's fantastic.
Yes, absolutely. What the hell is
masterpiece.
this?
Yeah. Oh, what's next?
Yes.
Speaking of which,
Okay.
you don't have to air this or not, but I figured I'll just throw this in
We
there.
will.
Portsmouth versus China, a guy that owns a print shop that has some well-established contracts.
Sure.
Met him at the games, reaches out to me. He's like, I read your website, Portsmouth versus China, and I've always wanted to do a cut and sew shop. So now
Okay.
he doesn't have to go procure blanks, t-shirt blanks.
Okay.
We're looking at maybe doing a cut and sew shop here,
Oh, wow.
just getting the fabric, actually making the blanks ourselves.
Oh, wow.
And then he can do that. Stay
That's
tuned.
amazing.
That's going to
Stay
possibly.
tuned.
I mean,
Stay tuned. There'll be you can expect a counseling center success center program.
Yep. So
That
now
revolves around the cut and sew shop.
Yeah.
now the boys at the lab don't have to go somewhere else.
Dude, you love to see it. You know. What I
So
mean?
we'll see if it happens.
You
but-
love to see it. Hey, fingers crossed, man. Cut and sew shop, bringing manufacturing back to Portsmouth. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And they said it couldn't happen. Hey, dude, I appreciate you guys for
Thank you,
coming
brother.
in. Pleasure as
Appreciate it.
always. Till the next time, we'll see you guys.